everyone, and welcome to the Remote Work Movement podcast. The podcast will learn about the most interesting people and projects in the remote work space. Today, I want to do something different. I want to share with you why I fell in love with the remote work movement, why it matters actually, and it matters so much that it became my life's mission. So it's kind of more personal podcast, but I really wanted to share this with the world. It's so much more than where you can work from. The impact that the remote work can have in the world is actually the reason why I fell in love with this movement. So today's episode is about the 7 reasons I fell in love with the remote work movement. And without delays, we go to the first one. The first thing, and this is of course personal, is that remote work allowed me to actually get to know different cultures and live there. Since I learned about remote work, I thought about the stories back in the days where I was traveling to places like Croatia. I remember I was in Rijeka, a city in the south of Croatia, and I was very curious about their life. I was so happy to be there. I was so happy to actually be able to connect with some friends that I had there, but I wanted to stay there. I was there on vacations, just 3 or 4 days, and I remember I wanted to know more about their culture. I wanted to learn how they live, where they eat, what are they doing in their day-to-day life. And you rarely can do this as a tourist. So I really wanted to stay longer, and now with remote work, being a digital nomad, this is what I do for the last 5 years, and I'm so happy to be able to do it. So for me, it was all about knowing new cultures, not just actually traveling there, but staying there, understanding the locals, and as much as I can, drink from that culture so I can learn something, and I always do anywhere I am. So number one reason it allowed me to travel the world. It allows so many people to integrate in different cultures, to find their passions and to meet incredible people. Work from anywhere is actually the number one reason I actually fell in love with remote work. The second reason I fell in love with remote work is actually anyone is being able to grow their career independent of their location. And this is very interesting. Before, back in the days, you had to go from wherever you live to a big city to have access to jobs, to have access to opportunities, to have access to the right people. With remote work, this is not true anymore. Nowadays, you can have access to the whole world from your computer, no matter where you are. I can be a CEO, I can do anything on my computer, I can connect and have teams distributed around the world. The remote work movement allowed me to actually grow this big network of people that believe in the same things I believe. It allowed me to make a ruckus in the world, and it allows everybody to actually grow their careers independent of where they can live. And this is key. Nowadays, only talent, work capacity, and of course, your decisions matter when it comes to your career. This is very different from before. It was so much more political. You have to make friends inside the company. You have to make friends with your managers. And yeah, don't be a jerk. But at the same time, I feel more and more with remote work being implemented with quality in different companies. Only your matters. Only your work matters. Only your work capacity matters. Only your decision matters. This is a new world I wanted, actually, because I always remember that in all my jobs, I struggled because I wanted to bring new solutions to the table, and I was never empowered to do so, or nobody actually wanted to follow up on that. So being able to grow any career independent of the location is game-changing for so many people. One of the biggest issues we saw in Portugal was that young people had to leave their parents and grandparents in their villages to go and live in Lisbon. We see a big problem of elderly abandon, and people are staying alone, dying alone in villages because they have nobody to support them. Very extreme cases here in Portugal. Now with remote work, we see many people actually leaving Lisbon because it's very expensive and moving to the villages to support their families, but also because it's the place where they feel happy. And this will bring me to point number 3. Remote work allows us to change many migration flows from villages to big cities. As a Portuguese, actually, we see a lot of migration for my whole life. My parents and many other people usually had to migrate to France, to Switzerland, to Venezuela, to South Africa, to the US to have access to better jobs, to have access to better lives. But this is not true anymore. Again, remote work changed everything. And I really believe that nowadays we see two different changes in the migration and how people move. First one is from poor countries to rich countries. I organized last year the Future of Work Africa, just an online conference about the best projects around the remote work and the future of work in Africa. And what we saw is that any person can find a remote job and work from their country to the world. And Africans know this. And now it's very fun. We saw people from Ghana, people from Ethiopia working to the US. And we saw all these people now understanding they don't have to leave the country they love. They don't have to leave the culture they love, their family, their community. They can work to any place in the world from where they live. This is also true for Portugal, actually. So many Portuguese that used to have to leave the country to have better opportunities, now they are coming back to Portugal with their remote jobs, working for the US, working for France, working for Germany, but they are coming back and choosing to live in Portugal while working to the world. So these two flows of migration are changing, but they're not the only ones. There is a third kind of flow that is changing with remote work, which is people are moving from cold countries or places that they don't actually want to live to countries with a higher quality of life. We can see this in Portugal so clearly. We see people from Germany, from Norway, from Sweden moving to Portugal because it's cheaper, has a better quality of life, the weather is pretty much good the whole year round. The nature they are looking at is here, we have the ocean, but not just to Portugal. Some people are just moving to different places inside their country. When we don't have to be in the city to get a job. We can choose from where we work. Many people are looking for exactly that and moving to new places, whether that's villages or cities or new countries. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that there is a new kind of migration that is very interesting, and it's actually people looking for a place where they can be happier, where they can have the things they love and a better quality of life. So the point 4 connects all this. The point 4 of the 7 reasons I fell in love with the remote work movement is redistribution of the population. During the last 100 years, we saw people moving from villages to cities. That was it. The opportunities were at the cities. People had to move there to have access to jobs. And we saw this massive movement from all the villages to centralized cities like Lisbon. This also happened in Ireland with Dublin, but happened in many other places. Nowadays, finally, we are seeing the opposite movement. We are seeing the movement of people leaving big cities to live in villages where they believe they have a better quality of life, where they can build a community, when they can grow their kids and actually be happier in the connection with the nature. So we are slowly seeing a redistribution of the population that I believe will become the biggest trend in a couple of years. So villages are gaining momentum. I started the Digital Nomad Village here in Madeira, in Ponte do Sol, but this is just a drop in the ocean. I believe that this will be a bigger movement. I believe that Grow Remote is right, and if you don't know Grow Remote, go to growremote.ie. They're doing a massive work in Ireland, redistributing the population from the city, Dublin, to the villages by creating communities, creating work conditions, and making sure that anyone can work with quality in these villages. Factor number 5 of why I fell in love with the remote work movement, and it's actually inclusion. I spoke with so many interesting people at Tethra, and I learned so much with them. The truth is, more and more people claim that remote work brought them inclusion and less day-to-day challenges at their work. Especially people that used to work in tech companies, they face several challenges. This is especially true to people with physical disabilities, to the queer community and LGBT plus community, and also just minorities. Working from home helped all these communities to work with less challenges and discrimination in their day-to-day life. Well, I'm lucky, kind of. I never faced this discrimination anyhow. The truth is, many people feel this every single day. So with remote work, thousands of people are now working happily from home without having to deal daily with racism, with crazy comments, with things that sometimes the people doing it think it's okay, but it's not. And you feel the racism inside. Racism as a joke, even jokes that are just discriminatory. We don't want that, and we see more and more articles proving that remote work actually empowered these people to have better jobs, to feel better, and their mental health is so much better. So this is one of my passions. I really believe that remote work can kind of democratized a little bit more the access to jobs and access to the right opportunities, no matter who you are, just your work is what matters. This became one of the top reasons I really think remote work will change the whole world. And we are seeing it step by step. Like all the big changes, they need time. But we do see these changes happening. Do see more and more reports on this. And we do see more and more data about inclusion in remote companies. We are going well. We are now going for the 6 out of 7 reasons I fell in love with the remote work movement. And it empowers people in poor countries. And here, I remember, I think it was 3-4 years ago on my first running remote back in Bali, where I met Liam Martin, I met so many incredible people. I met the community, I met this incredible remote work community. That could be reason number 8. The remote work community is it's very special. Like we are unique people. Everybody is so kind with each other. Everybody wants to share information. But at this conference, Running Remote, I learned about a story that kind of changed the way I see remote work. And this was very early on my days. So it was Fahim's story. And Fahim is a story that Running Remote went to shoot in Bangladesh, in a small village of Bangladesh, and I'll post the video here in the comments. But basically, this story tells that to be able to get a person in a wheelchair, that's Fahim, in the small village of Bangladesh, to actually go and have a remote work opportunity. He went to this crazy path where he had to educate himself in a wheelchair, in a village, in Bangladesh, how to do graphic design. He did it first with DVDs, and then he started to get a cell phone, and he could start working with his cell phone. So he learned basically graphic design. And then he was able to go to a marketplace, Fiverr.com, where he was able to sell this skill and actually support his whole family. It's crazy. I'll post the video in the description, but for me, what is shown is that opportunities more than ever are democratized. We have internet, and most people now have internet. We have access to all the information in the world. So we see so many people complaining in the Western world, and at the same time we see these incredible stories like Fahim that inspire the world, that now it's just being able to use the tools and actually grow a better life for ourselves. The tools are there. You have all the education in the world in your hands. Even Harvard is doing free online courses. So there is no excuses. And if Fahim in a wheelchair in the village in Bangladesh can make a living for him and his family working online with the skill he learned online, so can you. So, empowering people in poor countries, it's actually the key to keep people there, to stop migration flows, to give and have a more democratized world where everybody has an opportunity. Again, remote work does kind of democratize the work world, and I'm very happy for that. And the last one, I'm very happy for this one because this is part of my life. The Atlantic, which is a great news media, reported a surprising effect of remote work, and that is more babies. It's making easier for couples to become parents, and actually for parents to have more children. This podcast is going live probably in the week I'm becoming a father for the first time, and I would never do it without remote work. It allowed me to make more money, to travel the world, to not feel stuck in a place, and it will allow me to be a better and super present father while I actually will keep traveling with the baby. Yeah, we'll become one of those digital nomad families. So we see this surprising effect where if people don't have to commute to a job and lose 3 hours of their day, if people can have and grow their career from their own house or from co-working spaces without having to move to bigger cities, if people can cut on their expenses by living in cheaper locations, probably where they feel happier and have more community, yes, people will have more babies. The issue with fertility is not fertility. The issue is actually we didn't have the time or the power or the money to have more babies. So maybe, just maybe, remote work will be able to slightly change this trend. Well, this is it. These are the 7 reasons I fell in love with the remote work movement, and they were work from anywhere, being able to grow your career independent of your location. It can change migration flows. It can redistribute population. It brings inclusion for minorities. It empowers people in poor countries, and we can have more babies, because why not? I hope you enjoy this podcast. It's just a test. It's something different. Maybe you are tired of listening to my voice. But if you are listening to this, you probably also love the remote work movement. So I would love to receive your messages and know more about how remote work impacted your life or how you hope it will do it in the future. This was kind of a different kind of episode. I would love to know more if you like it. If you don't like it, it's weird to speak alone. Honestly, I have some notes, but it's still weird. So let me know if you like it, if I should do more of this. I do share a lot of content on my LinkedIn, so if you want to connect with me there. But I want to go and share some of the ideas I post on LinkedIn in the text format and explore them in this podcast format. I think it would be really, really cool. Also, maybe to answer your questions in the future. That's something I would love to do as well. So, thank you for listening. I appreciate you. If you like this, share with anyone who needs to listen to this. And if not, I'll see you next week. Same place, same time. Be epic and have a nice week.